Hello to my followers. Many moons ago, I went crazy from following coincidences. They still come back to me in my life. And as a smart person, I know that there's to be expected coincidences in life. No. What triggers my suspicion about the agency behind coincidences is the amount of coincidences and their intensity. And there'll be a lot of them, very intense or minor, but a lot, and then periods of nothing. So I thought it might be fun to talk about them. This is a very minor one, but I am in a cycle of spotting them. I told my partner that I was boycotting Hollywood because of their horrible environmental record, and I just I don't like the influence Hollywood has over so-called liberals. I'm not boycotting older productions, though. I'm not savage or anything. I've still got to watch some original Star Trek. But after, I just said that recently to my partner, and here's an example of coincidence. This morning, I'm making my warm drink, and I turn on the radio. This is frequently how a coincidence will happen. There's a show about Hollywood and how they seem to be great at making dystopian films, but there are it's a disproportionately negative outlook on the future. And it wasn't since they said Star Trek where there was a real positive view of the future. And even people that were asked, what would you like the future to be? It was all negatives, like I don't want air pollution, I don't want war, blah blah blah. But there was no positive suggestions on what the future would be. That got me thinking: what would my positive vision of the future be? It certainly would be less than 8 billion people. I've heard a number thrown around that 1.5 billion. Okay, so that's the number one. Right? Without starvation, without war, genocide, or pandemic that kills everybody, it's possible to reduce our population if the population recognizes itself as like a virus to the earth, and somehow we achieve this. Really, the positive versions of the future, they tend to look a lot like Star Trek in my head, and I think that's a convergence thing. I'm not going to give high futuristic praise to Gene Roddenberry, but yeah, national identity disappears completely. That's another one. So we get to a population that the Earth can sustain with renewable resources and all extractive, or 99.9% of any extractive kind of industry dies, and because we can't continue to be an extractive species and have a positive future. So that's why it's really important to boycott Tom Cruise and the oil and gas industry, and give the middle finger to the cool people down the street. Whenever I say cool, I'm talking about Coke, and I'm not talking about the drought. I'm talking about coal miners. It's time to retire. So yeah, the future, the problems in the future that humanity will face will be more about inward facing and trying to find meaning within. Because it's so easy right now. There's so much external crap, to focus the negativity on the obvious air pollution, water pollution, tons of pollution, and war, and the rise of tyrants, and fascism again. But I've been reading Mein Kampf, and just to get an idea, what was going on in that psycho's head. And it seems like national identity is like the number one. It's the number one thing. So I lost that a long time ago. I don't know, and that's why it was easy for me to realize gender is ridiculous, because I lost that a long time ago too. Regardless if Otto Kernberg says it's because I have a disordered personality or not, I think it's a good thing to think that gender stereotypes are full of shit. And it is a stereotype, and if someone is dressing in the stereotype of female, it's polite to call them her. I think the future is art and relationships and finding meaning with each other, and reducing our population to 1.5 billion. Cities are extremely efficient, and I think we are a social animal, and therefore the vast majority of us were meant to live in cities. And I think our cities will just become more reflections of nature and harmony with the earth and each other. But that's another thing. Whenever you ask a person, people, and it's easier for them to come up with a dystopian future than a utopia, or the radio show wasn't about utopia. It was about the in between. Where utopia is the definition of perfection is subjective. So, but it's very easy to figure out when there's a problem. The air kills us. That's an easy problem, and also contains within it drama. So I think that's probably why Hollywood tends to focus on the apocalyptical stories instead of the happily ever after ones. There's drama involved in it. When all of these problems are removed, the humans of the future will still be like us. They won't have access to the questions that religions have very done a poor job of addressing, like, why am I here? But the people of the future still won't have access to the big question of like that, unless. And if that question is answered, like, oh, we're just little programs in the matrix of something, then the probably dystopia utopians of that version with that, we mastered it. It's impossible to imagine that.